Thank you for taking the time to connect into our session and welcome to our 12th edition of Impulse Talks live from Paris. We are glad to have you with us today to talk about digital construction. As you are now starting to be aware of, our ambition with the Impulse Talks session is to provide an international overview of innovation and how tech is developing in construction and beyond. Every 2 months, we are featuring some of the best startups, along with testimonies from corporate leaders and perspectives from venture capital investors, covering topics such as Industry 4.0, smart city, and as it is the case today, digital construction. A gentle reminder to please turn off your microphones and cameras to make sure that this session will run as smoothly as possible. For your information, this session is being recorded. Before introducing you our speakers for today, I will tell you a few words about Impulse Partners. So next slide, please. Next slide. At Impulse, we are passionate about innovation in construction, smart cities, and industry. We know these are some of the biggest sectors in the world, but they remain largely under-optimized because they are highly fragmented, ruled by local regulations, and unable to globally address the environmental and productivity challenges. We are convinced that there is a huge opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurship in those fields, and that they can help reshape the industry and improve efficiency and sustainability. Our role today and for now 10 years is to help detect the most promising startups and to connect them with the market. We act as a third party and a facilitator between corporate players, startups, and investors. We work with many of the largest names and industrial leaders in our focus sectors, and we have helped accelerate more than today 700 startups in their go-to-market. Part of our job is to bring people together across the value chain and across geographies. This is exactly what we will be doing today, considering how diverse the audience is. Indeed, as you can see it in the next slide, around 50 participants have registered for this session. Corporate leaders in materials, engineering firms, contractors, real estate, and venture capital firms. We are glad to gather people from all over the world on such an interesting topic. Last thing before we start, you have received a link to a questionnaire in the last email. You can also flash the QR code, and it will also be sent in the chat. It is a short one, so that you can give us your feedback after the event and tell us if you wish to be put in touch with any of the startups presenting. We have done many interesting introductions in the past following talks, and we'll be more than happy to keep doing it. I'll send you the link on the chat. Here it is. So coming up today, we'll hear first from Daisuke from Shimizu Corporation and the company's initiatives regarding digital construction, such as Shimizu Open Innovation. Then we will hear the presentation of 4 entrepreneurs from the United States of America, Estonia, and China. We will also hear Kaustubh from Brick and Mortar Ventures, who will present the ventures activities in digital construction. And to close the session, we will have a few minutes at the end dedicated to question and answers. Please do not hesitate to use the chat to type your questions. Without further ado, let's start the 12th edition of Impulse Talks, dedicated to digital construction. To do so, I'm now glad to welcome Daisuke from Shimizu Corporation, a Japanese architectural, civil engineering, and general contracting firm. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and we'll bring them up at the end if we have time.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Daisuke Kato, Deputy Director of Department of Business Venture from Shimizu Corporation. I'm based in Tokyo. Next slide, please. Shimizu is one of the 5 largest Japanese construction companies, so-called super general contractor, with 216 years company's history. We have annual sales of approximately 11 billion euro and staff over 16,000. Next slide, please. With our global network across over 30 countries, we have established a strong market presence in Southeast Asian countries such as Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines. And also, we are active in African continent. Currently, we have several big infrastructure projects in Uganda, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire. Next slide, please. Our main area of business are obviously building, construction, and civil engineering. As non-construction areas, we are providing real estate development, engineering services, and a division named Life Cycle Valuation. Is a main arm for business diversification, which provides facility management, building management for the building, and development of renewable energy, electric power retail business, also provides PPP and PFI. The Emerging Frontier Division is kind of an R&D center for realizing our vision for the future, like space and ocean development as a living space. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Recently, Shimizu has announced its vision towards 2030. As a smart innovation company, the policy is to promote more internationalization and business diversification to create a resilient, inclusive, sustainable society. Next slide, please. Shimizu started investment to ventures around 2000 and launched corporate venture capital last year. Next slide, please. Shimizu Venture Capital holds its budget of 78 million euro for coming 10 years investment and prioritize achieving synergistic effect over financial return. Next slide, please. I'm responsible for communication with European ecosystem. My focus areas for investment are shown here. Particularly, the area in red are higher priorities. Next slide, please. Yeah, now I'm going to show you some best practices from Shimizu DX journey. Firstly, robotics in construction. Next slide, please. Through long deflation period, Japan is facing skill shortage. In an aging society with declining birth rate. So it is crucial for construction industry to improve productivity. Next slide, please. Tackling these problems, we currently put 3 construction robots into practical. Robotic carrier, which transport and lift material automatically, and the robot welder, it's a full pass autonomous welder, and robot body, it's a multi-skilled installer. Next slide, please. And turn on the video. This is a key project implemented all technology of Shimizu DX Vision, Toranomon Azabudai project, which is currently under construction, and it's gonna become tallest building in Japan. This is a robot welder. And this is a smart station, which optimize construction management. And this is smart distribution board. Next, please. Sorry, next, please. It's construction consortium to promote robotics transformation was just announced last week. The consortium is structured by 3 Japanese super general contractors, Kajima, Takenaka, and Shimizu, and other 13 construction companies to be joined, which means accessing Shimizu offers you an equal value accessing Japanese construction market. Next slide, please. We are currently developing site management solution utilizing 360-degree images captured by autonomous mobile robots by Anybotics from Switzerland and reality capturing software of OpenSpace from Silicon Valley. Next slide, please. Next is an open innovation in predictive maintenance collaborate with UK tech company Geist. Next, please. Utilizing Geist image-based system, we are designing better road maintenance solution to capture needs of road network and optimize long-term investment. Next, please. Shimi's worldwide network offers POC opportunities across the world. In this project, we conclude NDA with Ugandan government at 7th Tokyo International Conference African Development and did a POC in Uganda this year with funding of Japanese government. And we are under planning to do POC in other African countries and Southeast Asian countries getting support from Japanese government. Thank you. Next slide, please. And finally, this is a smart building innovation utilizing data twin provided by Finnish startup Haltian. Next, please. Digital twin and IoT solution offers to visualize, optimize office environment, and improve people's well-being at office. Our first implementation was renovation of some floor of our head office to meet a post-COVID new normal office. This office transformation enabled us to book desk and meeting rooms based on congestion situation in the free address style office. And we can work at a safe environment and boost smoother internal communications. Linking employees' location data with our building operation system, DX Core, enable us to control and optimize the use of building equipment. Using location data, we manage air conditioning system and lighting. And this contributes to energy saving while providing a comfortable environment. Next, please. Please turn on the video. This is last. Now Shimizu is going to open our head office to the public as a showroom. Currently, we control air conditioning system by information from environmental sensors. Next, please. Shimizu will accelerate our open innovation to build resilient, inclusive, sustainable society, and looking forward to create innovation with you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daisuke, for your presentation. Your very interesting insight on your company. So we will now start the startup use case presentations with Badri, who will present T2D2, an American self-learning software platform that detects and classifies visible damage to various types of structures and materials. Badri, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Zainab. Let me just share my screen here. So hello, everyone. I'm really happy to present to you T2D2, which is our continuous AI-driven monitoring as a service solution, where we deploy computer vision to detect and identify problems at an early stage so that they can be fixed before they turn into really big headaches. And to give you a context for why we have developed the solution, there is a large stock of aging infrastructure around the world. And this includes not just public infrastructure, bridges, but also commercial infrastructure, buildings, and so on. So just in the US, there's over 50 billion square feet of vertical enclosures that requires inspection at a frequent interval. And there are many bridges that are in a poor state, but still in service. And many cities around the world have legally mandated facade inspections to prevent tragic incidents from occurring, either falling facades or structural issues. And this inspection market to identify the state of health is largely underserved because their current methods of inspection are very antiquated. They're analog processes involving people with clipboards or iPads and jotting down notes from field, or using heavy specialized equipment, which can be very slow and inefficient, not to mention expensive. So our solution addresses this core problem by bringing about the latest advances in drone technology coupled with computer vision, which is where T2D2 shines. And all of this is deployed on the cloud so that we can monitor the state of health of an asset on a digital twin deployed on the cloud. And these are digital twins of our clients' assets, either buildings or bridges or any kind of infrastructure. So our focus is primarily on the computer vision piece and building the digital twin. So what do these digital twins enable the client? They can gain a lot of insights about the state of health of their asset, including answering these basic questions: the types of damage conditions that exist on their assets, where they're located. We have geotagging in 2D and 3D. We have a severity scale 1 through 5. Let's say our computer vision algorithm detects 500 cracks, and 5 of them are ranked 5, category 5, which means they need to be remedied immediately. And then there are a few more lower down the scale, so they can plan their capital expenditure to upkeep their structures. We also track how fast the conditions are deteriorating. We have a condition severity index that is tracked over time with repeat inspections. And we also provide estimates to the clients about the range of cost that they might incur to fix all the conditions that are detected. So in summary, our platform combines powerful artificial intelligence, specifically computer vision, combined with an intuitive user interface so that they can gain insights from the results of our computer vision analysis. And before I move on to the rest of the presentation, I wanted to quickly move over to an actual live demo of our product. I have many projects, but I'm just going to highlight 2 of them as a specific use case. So this was a school building in Brooklyn, United States. And we did an inspection of this, about 1,300 images or so. We identified almost 8,000 unique conditions in this, and these are all true positive conditions, damage conditions. Many of them are fairly minor, but the fact that we have been able to identify them at an early stage enables this institution to plan their capital maintenance. In a human inspection of this structure would have resulted in probably 100 to 200 conditions. And those may be the major ones, but the fact that we've been able to identify conditions at a very early stage is very valuable to the client. I'm just going to show you, how our interface works. We have a lot of features and modules. So this is our basic geotagging module. There's a facade drawing where all of the images are geotagged, and as you can see, our computer vision algorithm has identified a whole host of different conditions, including cracked mortar joints, deteriorated mortar joints, corroded steel, even cracked brick, and cracked mortar joints, and so on. So, this is a very interactive digital interface that allows one to identify all the different conditions that exist and where they exist in their structure. Show you just one more screen on this project. So this is the dashboard where they can get like an overall picture of the different types of conditions that exist and the severities across these scales. One other quick view would be maybe a video module. So we process not just still images, but also videos. So here's a concrete structure that was inspected by drones. And as you can see, all of these frames were analyzed through our computer vision algorithm pipeline. And we identified a whole host of different conditions. And each of these frames, as I scroll through, you'll see these boxes keep popping up. And of course, these are also all geotagged. So if I go back to the drawings module and see where these conditions are located, I can extract those frames and find those conditions in a geotag manner. So that is a quick look at some of the features. We have many others, including 3D BIM models where we enable 3D geotagging. We have orthomosaics, so these are photographs that are stitched together to provide an understanding of where the conditions exist. So back to the slide, I just have a couple more. Ours is a SaaS-based model. So we provide the cloud infrastructure where all of the conditions are detected and mapped, and we host the digital twins. Our sales channel is primarily three-pronged. So we have data collection partners who are either drone survey firms or they have other technology to capture all of the data, and they have operations across the globe. We have partnerships with them. So they provide the data. We have engineering and architecture firms who provide the understanding of what needs to be done when there was a damage condition that is detected, and they can provide the professional opinion about the repairs. And we also directly reach out to asset owners who are interested in this end-to-end service of mapping the conditions onto a digital twin. So that's in a nutshell T2D2. We have fairly strong traction. I have plenty of other information, and be happy to take any more questions. Our early adopters have provided really positive feedback, and we are currently actively fundraising. So if there are any investors out there who are interested in this opportunity, please reach out to me. I can be reached either at info@t2d2.ai or my first name, badri@t2d2.ai. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Badri, for your presentation. Do not hesitate to ask your questions. Like I said on the chat, we will get back to them at the end of the session. Renee will now present Creatomus, an Estonian startup which develops solutions to automate the design for off-site constructions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Renee from Creatomus Solutions. We are a digital construction technology startup based in Estonia, in Europe. Our technology is to change how modular buildings are designed and ordered from off-site factories. In short, we develop online building configurators. Next slide, please. Well, let's have a look at the typical case study of our technology. It's a configurator for modular site huts. Site huts are needed by real estate developers for providing temporary facilities for the construction crew. A typical client is a construction site manager who rents or buys those modular buildings directly from the site hut manufacturer. So the problem really is that each construction site is unique, and thus the specification for the site hut can vary to a large extent. The size can vary to a large extent, and the content as well. The manufacturer typically addresses this problem by offering a huge number of different modular building components. So there's and typically they use a printed catalog of those components. But obviously those printed catalogs don't really work well. It doesn't serve as a good communication mechanism, and clients usually get lost in these. They don't know what to order. So our solution really is to provide a site hut configurator, which is an online tool that serves as a communication channel between the developer, the client, and the manufacturer, the provider. The site hut configurator, it helps to quickly generate designs and rapidly get the pricing offer. The process that used to typically takes days and weeks is now going to only take hours and maybe even in minutes. You can start your journey and complete it. But enough of talking. Let's have a look at demo. My colleague Ilya will share his screen. So if you can share Ilya's screen. So this is an online configurator, and it's done for Ramirent, our client. Ramirent uses it to automate rent-to-rent sales of the modular site hut product. The configurator is directly available in the website, so nothing to just search for. You just go to Ramirent, and the clients can easily discover it. So that's where the journey starts. So the client goes, opens the configurator, chooses the right size for their modular site hut, chooses each type for each module, whether it's office or manpower or sanitary. They can get an indicative pricing straight away from the configurator. You see on the top right corner there. And they can send a request to manufacturer for a detailed quote. That's when the sales representative of the manufacturer takes over. They can make necessary changes, so more detailed, actually go to configure more detailed solutions, and then more difficult, possibly a little bit difficult for the client to do it themselves, such as a meeting room, for example, where 3 modules are joined together into a single space and it's filled with a meeting table. Once completed, the sales representative can save the solution and send it back to the client. So everything is online. Everything can be saved.
Sorry, Renee, you just have to activate. I deactivated another mic, and unfortunately I deactivated yours too, just for 2 seconds now. I think now it's good. We can hear you.
Okay. Was it? Could you hear me?
Just the 3 previous seconds, just for 3 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, for the last 3 seconds. Okay, no worries. So everything works online, so it's nothing to install, and the income is actually a PDF quote. You can get the quote directly for your order, and that can be processed, either sent to the factory or signed digitally by the client and by the provider. So this is actually an online solution. You're welcome to play around with the solution if you find it from Ramirent website, or if you're interested to see this or other configurators, just feel free to drop me an email. Our website is www.creatomus.com, or drop a direct email to me. It's Rene, RENEE, @creatomus.com. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Renee, for this presentation. So now Gary will present ViAct, a Chinese startup that has developed a monitoring and alerting solution that alerts project supervisors of hazardous areas on their site and automatically detects injury-prone situations. Gary, you can have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Gary. I'm the CEO of ViAct. So today I'm just going to go through quickly what we do, a little bit about ourselves. So we are the top 50 content startup from CMAX Venture 2020. And so we are partnering with a couple of industry guru such as Autodesk and in their big model, in their Forge as well. So because our video analytics solutions data can actually export to these platforms to visualize, and also we are being published by a lot of medias in terms of what we are doing. So in terms of the difference that we are doing comparing to the other AI companies, that we are very much focused in construction domain. So we started the company 2016, and we have one of the largest data sets for construction videos and images in Asia. And our algorithms is all based on construction site, and all the logics that we set is also very specific for construction scenarios. So we publish a lot of research paper for construction as well. You can find it actually in ResearchGate. So we are one of the top publisher for construction AI in the field. So we have done so far 50 deployments in Asia, some of the big names you see below, all the way from infrastructure, civil works, tunnels, and all the way to facility management as well. So these are the 3 problems that we are trying to solve: productivity, project delay, and web-based injury. And what we are trying to do is to use AI technologies to digitize and videos and images data so that we can actually save workers' life, reduce the delay, and also increase and improve the productivity. So the reason why we are using cameras is that more than 80% of the cameras is already, the construction site already have CCTV cameras. And today it is monitored by a human. So it is not accurate, and also there's a lot of delays. So our core technology is called computer vision, of course. And so we are the first Asia industrial-grade AI cloud platform. So everything can be accessed through desktop and mobile phone. You can download the videos, you can download the images, and all the dashboard you can see. We have more than 30 proprietary preview AI modules. So we are the first one actually in the industry to suggest this a scenario-based AI algorithm. So basically, all the AI detections we have is based on very specific construction scenarios, such as holistic monitoring. In the middle, you see we have lifting operation, targeting monitoring, machinery articulations, maintenance works, building inspection, for example. So just to give you one example, for this one, we can mount different cameras actually around the construction site, and there are more than 30 different AI modules that you can deploy. But some of the modules is relating to safety in red here, such as PPE, articulation, and danger zone. Some are related to environmental, which is in green color here, and also productivity in blue colors. So here are some of the examples how we do. One of the uniqueness we do is that in one cameras that we can have multi PPE detection. So we can have a helmet detection, harness, jacket, and face mask at the same time. And also sometimes we can even detect if the person is not wearing a safety jacket. So we have different intrusion monitorings as well, such as people danger zone, vehicles and machinery entering specific areas, IoT integrations with the AI as well, and also classifying the helmet colors for defining the persons. And we have productivity module here, such as you are tracking the workers and the equipment on site. You can do calculations on the size of the areas of the completion of different construction progress. You can do a multi-AI detections for the machines, for the vehicles, and also for the other things. And also you can do a gesture monitoring just for the occupation health of the workers. So we also have some environmental module. So here you see there's some dirt monitoring actually of the entrance of the construction site. We have a construction waste illegal dumping monitoring here on the bottom, and also energy savings because of counting of the number of people to reduce the fresh air cooling load, and also some waste classifications of the source and waste of the entrance with dump truck. So these are all the other AI detections that we can do. So some of even a COVID specific for the construction areas, some are for cleaning procedures as well. Now I'm just trying to give you like a very fast demo. It's like how we deploy the solution, which is extremely simple. As you see, we just need to input like a RTSP link, which is connected to your cameras. And then everything can be like set on our online platform. And then here you go, everything is set up in 1 minute. So this is a free trial platform. So I suggest like when you guys finish the call, then you can try it out on our platform. It's called ViAct.ai. The free trial is around 14 days, and you can select like a danger zone and safety hammers actually with our free trial. So the values to the clients is like it can reduce the monitoring time 10 times faster and more precise, and 24/7 because this is running by AI. Everything is being automated. So yeah, now you can actually monitor 100 cameras at the same time using our technology. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Gary, for your presentation and your concrete examples. I will now let Daniel present you Toggle, an American startup which develops robots, putting together metal structures which go into concrete constructions.
Thank you. Happy to be here today. I see some familiar names in the participant list, so that's always nice. So at Toggle, we are automating rebar for reinforced concrete construction. And basically what we look for are large projects with repetitive concrete structural shapes where we can speed up the concrete cycle with automated pre-assembly of rebar. And when we do this, we can save up to 90% of the on-site rebar install time by supplying our ready-to-place pre-assembled cages. And so what this translates to for our customers is a really dramatic acceleration of the on-site construction time, often by weeks, sometimes by months. And today I'm going to talk about a particular project that we did this year in Toronto, which is a 60-story double tower high-rise. We worked with a Canadian rebar supplier called Salit Steel. So you can go on to the next slide. So I wanted to show you first what the software and robotic processes look like. So basically we try to automate the most physically difficult, time-consuming, as well as error-prone tasks in the rebar assembly process. And just by taking it off-site, we're already contributing to a really big simplification of the on-site process because we're taking one of the more dangerous processes and slow processes off the construction site and putting it into a controlled environment. But the challenge with automation in this space and with construction in general is that there's a high degree of customization. So obviously all of these structural shapes that go into buildings, are different on a building by building basis and on a floor by floor basis. And so it's really a software and hardware challenge to be able to accommodate that. But basically on column projects, which is what this project we did in Toronto is focused on, by focusing on the positioning of bars as we put them together, we can save a really significant amount of time because there's hundreds of columns within a single high-rise building, as well as many other shapes that are eligible for pre-assembly. So you can go on to the next slide. So a little bit about our software and hardware workflow. Basically what we're doing is taking the process from a structural drawing, which is provided to us, looking at the cage configuration and the geometry that's in that, and using our core software application called Toggle OS to convert that dynamically into a robotic assembly sequence, which we then run on our Weaver work cell, which contains some of our own proprietary hardware, but also uses the same type of industrial robots that you'd recognize from traditional automated manufacturing like automotive. You can go on to the next slide. And so basically what this allows us to do is accommodate a wide variety of the really frequently occurring shapes that you'd recognize from large structures, especially in high-rise buildings. But we also work quite a bit in renewable energy on projects like solar as well as battery facilities. Yep, you can go on to the next one. Okay, so this is the project that we worked on up in Toronto. And basically to illustrate how this works, if you think about a 60-story high-rise building as really a single-story building that's repeated 60 times, and you break out all of the structural shapes that are occurring, like columns and beams and mats that go into floor slabs and that sort of thing, you end up with collections of hundreds, of these individual pieces, but with slight variations with each. And so what Toggle enables us to do is take all of that structural data, convert it into robotic assembly data, do the physical assembly, and then when our trucks arrive to the site, you're just picking cages off the back of the truck and dropping them into place, which gets you to the concrete pour quite a bit faster. And so the 1 day or so that you save on each floor gets multiplied out by the number of stories in the building. Or if you're doing a project like in infrastructure, you can imagine a solar facility where you have rows and rows of solar panels, each anchored into the ground with reinforced concrete. Each one of those is, essentially like a set of columns, as well, but you have piers or piles that are in the foundation. You can go on to the next slide. And this is what our trucks look like when they arrive to the job site. So it's very simple for our customers because it's the exact same rebar. It's in the exact same configuration that they would have done themselves. It's just pre-assembled, but it happens to be a lot more accurate as well as a safer process because this work is no longer being done on site. So you can find out more about what we're doing at our website, www.toggle.is. We're currently working in North America. We have a 50,000 square foot prefab facility in Pennsylvania, but I know a lot of the participants today are joining from Europe. So my colleague, Andreas Thoma, is also on the call. He's based in Switzerland, and he'd be happy to speak to any of our European colleagues about our plans for the European market as well. So feel free to contact us, and thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Daniel, for presenting us Toggle. And I'm now glad to welcome Kaustubh, who will present Brick and Mortar Ventures, an early-stage venture fund focused on the industries of architecture, engineering, construction, and facilities management.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, for the session. It's great to see a lot of startups and go ahead of me. It was fantastic. And I see a lot of familiar faces, so thank you for having me. I think I want to keep a good chunk of time for Q&A, so I'll go a little bit faster through this. I don't think so you guys have seen anything that's new per se from a venture perspective. You guys are doing the actual work, the founders, so I'll keep it brief. Next slide, please. Start with the mission. I think our mission I want to highlight is that we want to be the premier global design, construction, asset management investor, as well as a trusted partner to industry leaders. So two things to highlight here. We often get called construction technology investors, but we do go across design, construction, and asset management. And then the second part is I think worth highlighting here that we are well aware that we are in the nascent phases of our ecosystem, and we care to make sure we are a trusted partner to industry leaders. So there are corporations, founders who we may not be investors in, but we want to make sure the industry moves forward, because a bad experience there can really hurt the industry in the long term. So wanted to highlight that part of the mission statement. Next slide, please. So Kaustubh Pandya, you're meeting me. I'm a principal at Brick and Mortar Ventures. This is the entire team. Don't have the time to go into everyone's background, but one thing I would highlight is the team is structured more to understand the needs of the industry and comes from the background in construction as well as built world, more than I would say typical venture and finance. And that's by design. We believe it's more important to know what problems are worth solving rather than just having a venture or finance background to understand which founders to back. So that's, I would say, part of our investment thesis and a long-term strategy for Brick and Mortar Ventures. Next slide, please. This is a good way, I think, of how we view the world. We go across design, construction, and facilities management. We invest anywhere from simple, say, verticals such as residential, multifamily, all the way to complex ones, federal, defense, space. It doesn't matter to us. We invest globally, so we are geographically agnostic. We have invested 3 in Australia, 3 in Canada, 1 in Israel, 1 in Zurich, so it's not a geographical question. In fact, we found many amazing startups come outside of the typical California Bay Area. We also are agnostic to the business model. So hardware, software, tech-enabled business, contractor, it doesn't matter to us. We care more about the problem that the industry is motivated to solve. And if there is a venture-backable solution to that problem, we'll take a hard look. And if there is a venture-backable case, go ahead and invest once we have conviction. We believe in earning the right to invest. So if you've engaged with us, we engage for a period of time to see what a sector-specific VC looks like in terms of adding value before we make an investment. And so both sides of the table understand what the venture marriage looks like once you're there. Next slide, please. These are our investors. We are backed, our fund one is backed entirely by the corporate strategics, each in different parts of the value chain, so building materials, tools, software, contractors, consulting, and pioneer customers. Many of these names will be familiar to you all, and many of them are, I think, present in the audience. So we are thrilled to see and get support from such early, I would say, taking a bet on an early stage venture fund, which is, I wouldn't say a typical strategic lever for many of the corporates in our built world industry. Next slide, please. I spent maybe thinking about what is the best way to say this, and I think I'll just spare on 3 slides on how we as Brick and Mortar view the world in one, especially when it comes to investments. Part of this journey, I think, is just understanding why construction of built environment is hard. I think you've probably seen the picture on the left a few times. We have not changed the way we build. I think that has changed significantly in the last 3 to 5 years. And one of the fundamental changes we've seen is the foundational technology has evolved to a point where we can build economically feasible solutions on top of to serve the unique needs of our industry. And our industry has been pretty hard. Its environment is pretty challenging. We internally call it a GPS denied, usually data constrained, metallic, dynamic environment. A construction job site is a temporary supply chain with a project-specific workforce. So you are really reinventing a lot of the challenges, or facing a lot of challenges going from one project to the next. And that makes a scalable technology that much harder. I think one of the fundamental lessons that we learned, or I personally learned, is for many technologies, this is in my previous life and I was serving large contractors, is you need to prove the ROI at a single project level. Of course, the market size is big and you're going to get there, but you need to earn the right to scale at a single project. And that's what makes it a little challenging to navigate. I would say that would be the past. Next slide, please. Here's where I say we are today. This is some of the research I did in my previous life. I think the latest version of it is how has the construction ecosystem evolved. So 2 things to highlight here. One, we have seen a pretty strong point solutions in the startup ecosystem. We've started to see a lot of platform plays, but by and large, it's still a heavily point solutions market. And that's still the needs of the industry. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what excites us. On the right side, I'm highlighting some of the investment trends where we have seen later stage investors come into the industry, which has de-risked a lot of early stage investing. And this is before the 2021, large tiger globals of the world coming into the space. So I think we've seen a pretty strong momentum in the space, both from entrepreneurs as well as from investors who are motivated to move the industry forward. And of course, the third stakeholder, which allows all this, is the customer. So the industry corporates who are eager to engage on a digital transformation journey, as you heard earlier today from Shimizu Corporation. So I think this is, I would say, the present. Where is it all leading? Next slide, please. Also, this is one of our fundamental theses on how we think about the world and how we invest. On some of the verticals on the left side, we are highlighting the types of market sectors where we believe there is vertical integration possible. I think on the right side, I'm highlighting sectors where we believe vertical integration will be too tricky. However, you could achieve vertical efficiency, which is a way to get a point solution across many different verticals. So on the left, we've invested in companies like Connect Homes, which serves a single-family residential full stack solution. So it's a single legal entity that's delivering the entire solution to you. That's what I mean by vertical integration. And on the right side, you've seen very innovative models, not just your typical point solutions in a SaaS startup, but technology-enabled contractors, hardware-enabled SaaS, technology-enabled insurance company. You just saw Dan present. That would be another innovative model to go and serve, sell the rebar as opposed to, selling the robot, which will be pretty hard to sell in the current industry. So I'll leave it with this, saying I think we are very excited about the future. We think there's going to be plenty of more investor interest as well as entrepreneurs coming into the industry, and we are thrilled to support them all. And yeah, that gives me 4 minutes for questions, I guess. Didn't leave that much time.
So thank you very much to all our speakers. Thank you, Zineb. I'm Alice Birola. I'm from Impulse Partner. I'm a senior consultant at Impulse. And just a few words about our guests. Thank you to all of your presentation. They were really deep of information. And if you have any kind of questions, or if you want to have some introduction to all of these speakers, do not hesitate to contact us. And just a few words about this session. It was a pleasure for us to present you all these actors, because through their vision and their perspective, we have tried to present you how digital construction can be a really big challenge in construction in all the different phases, from the conception part at the beginning with Creatomus, with how can I say, the first part of the project, through all the part of the monitoring part, the part of the conception and the construction that can be automized through, for example, the project and the solution of Toggle, with the monitoring part and how can I say, monitoring system and detection of anomalies, for example, for ViAct, but also the solution of T2 and D2 to how can I say, have a monitoring in all the phases on site, construction on site. And also the perspective and the testimonies of corporates and venture capitals that give us a good overviews on how corporates and big leaders and investors are moving on these topics. So thank you very much, and do not hesitate if you have some other questions. So Zineb, I let you go on.
Yes, and our next talk will take place on November 14th, and will be focused on Industry 4.0. The following one dedicated to Smart City will take place on January. And please take 2 minutes after this session to answer to our short survey to help us improve and to put you in touch with any of the featured speakers. And if you have any questions, now is the time. You can activate your microphone or use the chat. Otherwise, thanks a lot for today, and see you all in November for our 13th edition of Impulse Talks dedicated to Industry 4.0. And of course, do not hesitate to contact us or to contact the speakers. If you have any questions, we will be glad to make the contacts. So thank you so much, and have a nice afternoon, evening, or morning. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.